Alright, so another photo editing tutorial, and we've got an image sent in from Aaron Ski from Germany, so make sure you go give him a follow because we can see we've got some pretty awesome content. So as we come down, we see a lot of greens, really warm greens, and a lot of blues, so and quite a decent amount of fade, so I quite like this. And as we come down, we will see the image we're going to be working with today. So he has sent in this exact image and we're going to go about recreating this edit. So really good, really awesome image. So let's jump into Lightroom and see what we can do. So in Lightroom, and this is reference image, our image, and what I've already done is crop the image and correctly positioned it. So 4:5 cropped, and let's get into editing. Now what he's done here is created a lot of depth in the image. So he's got something in the foreground, the midground, and a really awesome background. So he's done a really good job of creating depth, and for that reason as well, this is going to require a lot more editing, a lot more brushing, a lot more filters. So it's going to be quite a long and challenging edit. So let's get into it. And the first thing I'm going to do, really bring down those highlights. Shadows come up. Whites coming down. Not many whites. And really bringing up those blacks because we're adding a really dark vignette, so I'm compensating for that now by really bringing up the blacks here. Clarity, I'm going to bring up. And saturation down a bit. So before I do my tone curve, I'm going to come all the way down to vignetting, because vignetting is going to play a really important role in creating our contrasts. So total amount of vignetting. So a midpoint, so bringing that right in, as you can see what that's doing. As you can see, it's quite a long fade to the edge. Around this, it's a bit more square, a bit more oval, I mean. Feathering, take it down a tad, and highlights means it's gonna ignore the highlights, so it just gets rid of any vignette in the highlights, but we don't want that for this, but it can be really handy on other images. So coming back up, now our tone curve. So there is quite a bit of fade in this image, so as you guys should know, bringing up the blacks, dropping those shadows. And the whites I'm going to leave at 100. So moving on to HSL, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with these oranges so you can see what that is doing. And I want to bring it all the way to the left to get these real orange bits, but I can see that it's not quite making the house in the background the right orange. So I'm going to have to bring that back to about there, and I think that makes the house and the oranges along there look better. Now this is when you get the really warm greens, so there's a lot of green in there still, but to make the greens warm, the yellows will have a really big impact, so I'm dropping these yellows towards the oranges. So it looks a little too yellow at the moment, but we'll be dropping the saturation and such. Bring those greens down. And luminance of the greens get much deeper greens. Now it's not looking too great at the moment, but we gotta bring it all out with brushes and brighten up the areas we want to have bright. So split toning, you can see it's quite cool and blue. The green, the grass almost looks a little blue as well. So we put a good amount of blue in there, and that really gets those greens back. Coming down, sharpening, gonna do quite a bit. Now, so I'm going to brighten up the grass with a brush in that because yeah, it's quite obvious that some brushing has been done down here to really brighten up the subject, the house, bring these flowers out. But we're going to start with the sky, so I'm going to just focus on the mountains and the sky, and we're going to try to match that up. So radial filter. So it's going to get quite advanced, it's quite difficult to follow if you're a beginner. I'll try to explain everything, but a lot of it's just going to be really confusing to some people. So bringing the warmth up, we got a lot of purples in there, so purple. I'm going to take down the exposure a little. Highlights needs to be a little brighter. Shadows, create a bit of contrast. Whites to create that pop. Dropping the blacks a little. And now our colors look good, they're just too saturated. So now we're going to drop saturation, we get that nice soft purple up there. So not looking too bad, but as you can see, we have lost our vignette up the top. So to keep that dramatic looking sky, going to place another one just above that here. So we could darken this by using a vignette, but that's going to darken the vignette in the entire image, and it will get too dark along here. So to keep this sky nice and dramatic and keep the framing of this vignette, I'm going to darken it up with a filter up here. So bring down the highlights a little. Really bring down those blacks. And as you can see, I want a bit more blue up there. So cool it down just a little. And I think our sky is looking pretty similar. And something you'll notice is we've got this really ugly blue misty stuff popping up here. So to take care of that, grab your brush and bracket key to make your brush a little smaller. Turn on this box if you want to see where you're painting, and just brush all along the edges here. Should be easy to get rid of. Click off it, and now what I'm going to do is, since it's blue, if I put warmth in it, it's going to almost disappear. And I want a little more purple in there to match up with the other image. I want it to be not so bright, as it was mist, so had quite a few whites in it. And dehaze, because it was hazy, dehaze works quite well. And now it is gone. So our image from there up is looking a lot better. Pretty similar. So moving on, we've got to brush quite a few more things. So the next thing I'm going to brush is the main area out here. So there's this big patch that is your eye's really drawn to. So new brush, bracket key, make it a bit bigger. To see where we're painting, gonna tick this box and then just paint away. The light comes all the way around here, so I'm just painting exactly where I see the bright areas in the other image. The idea is to draw your eye right into the middle. Now when I click off this box, do some adjustments. So I need to make it really bright. I'm going to slightly bring up the exposure. Need that good looking warm grass. Contrast. Bring those highlights up. It's having a very minimal effect, and we might not have brushed enough. So do your adjustments, and then if you need to go over it again, you can with your brush. I'm going to really bring up the whites. And clarity is going to make it pop. And might take down the saturation a tad. And now I'm just going to add a little more to it. Just brush over what I've already done, enhancing the effects. Alright, so moving on to our next brush. So I want to brush the house to really make this house pop. So zoom in a little, new brush, paint away, click this box. So now I'm going to do things such as contrast. Contrast darkens the shadows, increases the highlights. Shadows, it's looking a little dark. Whites up a little, make it pop. Clarity, sharpen, pop. And then sharpness, as it's very much the focal point of the image. Done. So I think our house is looking similar. So moving on. So our next brush, from what I can see, he's really brought out this foreground here. He's really brought out the texture of the grass right up the front on purpose. So another brush. Right. So really trying to bring out that texture, make them real crisp and sharp, and so bring up contrast. So you can see it darken most things. Maybe drop the shadows a little. Make them pop a little with the whites. And then clarity. So now you can see we've got that texture in the grass up here at the front. I don't know if you guys can see it that well, but yeah, quite like that. And if you just don't feel like you got enough, brush over it again. That should be good. So most of our image is looking pretty good. Before, after. Now these flowers are looking orange and not too good. So I could come down here and try to fix them with these hue sliders or the saturation slider, but that would throw out what our building looks like and the dirt or the orange stuff behind it. So I think it's much more likely that he has gone about and brushed these flowers than brushing all the rest of the image. So we're going to do a brush as well on the flowers. Another brush. Turn on the red so you can see red painting again. Let's change the color of these flowers, or the brightness. Bring contrast all the way up. Gonna bring out those whites to really bring out that edge of the flower. And now clarity is what's really going to give us the pop. Bring it up a lot. Some dehaze. And maybe some warmth. Warmth will help, some color. Or I think it's actually looking too orange, so if I put blue in it, it's going to make it look more yellow. And same with green, should help with that, creating a more yellow look. But now I'm going to do one more brush on them. So new brush, this should be our last one. So just going to try to get the orange now. Right, so we're going to try to get our oranges. Contrast. Drop those shadows. Get it nice and dark. And if you don't have any colors to work with, what you can do is come down here. This is what I'm just going to do. I'm not actually too sure how he got those oranges exactly, but I'm just going to do it this way. And it's something I haven't shown you guys before, so maybe you learn something. So I'll put the red in there. I'm just going to brush to make it. Alright, so now they're looking orange. And let's see how our images stack up. So these are before and after. Before, after. And now we could do our tweaking if we wanted to. I might take some saturation out of these flowers up the front here. And yeah, I think this is an awesome picture because it has the foreground, midground, and background. So a lot of depth by tuning your lens portrait. And you fit in quite a few things. So I think it's looking really good. And I mean, now I'll just be messing around trying to add to things. So I just want to bring out this stuff a bit more maybe. Maybe some more clarity. wax a little. No. Maybe. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. I think you guys get the point. The goal is to teach you guys how to do this stuff. So, yeah, I think that looks really good. Just gonna get rid of a few more of those blues up here. And I mean, you can pick really small things, like you want more blue up here to match his. I mean, they might look more similar for you. Might just do one new brush. Just want to add a bit of texture. Just going to quickly come up here and increase our whites. So I think it's a bit brighter in the other image. And something else I want to do is I want a bit more of this texture down and around the building. So select this brush. I'm just gonna brush and that's to give us our deeper shadows, more contrast, more whites. It's a bit more punch and contrast around these areas. But yeah, that's it. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let's look at our before and after. So looking pretty good. Make sure you go give him a follow. His links will be in the description. And give myself a follow. Check out my preset pack. You guys really like those if you like these tutorials. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Comment down below what you want to see and leave a like. Cheers. See you in the next one.